Hey, all, hey, welcome back to Raysn Readings. I'm Raysn, or Becca, whatever you want to call me, and today we are going to talk about the worst reads that I had in 2019. Now, the skinny of it is that I'm only going to name 4 books. Why? Because I do this thing where if I don't like a book, I don't finish it. And if I don't finish it, I don't keep track of it. If I don't like a book, I'm not going to keep it. I'm not going to let it take up space in my life. I'm not going to let it take up space in my mind. I'm not going to let it just be in my space. So, in no particular order, do not think in any way, shape, or form that any of these books are in an order of worst to least. And if you've read these stories and you like them, this is not an attack at you. This is my personal opinion, and I'm going to keep it because I like my opinions. And if you don't, bye. Anyway, moving on. The first book that I want to talk about was actually a series that I read all the way through, hoping it was going to get better, thinking it was going to get better, and it didn't. And that series is Stalking by Koogi. I'm probably mispronouncing it, but let me tell you. And the premise is that you have this kid who broke into a guy's house because he was convinced that they were in love. And it turns out that the guy whose house he was breaking into is a freaking psychopath, sociopath, whatever, ends up kidnapping the kid, tormenting and torturing him, turning him also into a serial killer, and then warping his mind in this super creepy, like Stockholmy thing, to a point where this kid was convinced that they were in love, regardless of the fact that he was regularly abused and beaten and put into incredibly horrible situations. I read it all the way through, and I got to a point in the series, I want to say it was like in the last book, maybe the last 2, where I was just like, something's not right here. I had a lot of conclusions drawn and a lot of information given to me at the very beginning that added up to 1 + 1 = 2. And now, in this last little chunk of time, in this last little bit of the plot, it was like, no, you're wrong. 1 + 1 is not 2. It's some other imaginary figment of your imagination. And I'm like, what happened? Where did you get that information? How did this happen? Where were the hints? Where was, how, why, what? I don't even know what I can say about it. Things happened, they didn't add up. That just threw me off. I couldn't deal with it after that point. So the next one that I read was another manga. I want to say it was like a psychological thriller or horror something. It was a short story, and it is called Feeding Lamb by Mado Fuchiya. Please don't hit me up in the comments if I am butchering these names. I will be the first to admit that I cannot speak English or any other variation thereof, regardless of the fact that I majored in English, studied French, and Spanish. I read it, I finished it, I didn't like it. I think what I really just didn't like was that I was expecting it to be a lot bigger than it was. Pretty much you have a nurse who is a cannibal, and that's a thing, but the guy that he like eats in the story is like a friend, I think. That was unclear. And it was underwhelming. I had hoped for a sense of betrayal. I had hoped for some more backstory. I had hoped for anything. Maybe the cops could have got involved and just caught this guy in the act of butchering and eating somebody. I don't know what I expected. I just expected more, and I didn't get it. And because I didn't get it, I didn't like it. So, moving on. The third one I'm going to mention is not technically a manga, but it is a comic. It's a web comic. You'll notice moving forward that I read a lot of webtoons from the app Webtoon. I love that creators are willing and able to put their art out there, whether or not they're paid for it. And Webtoon is usually the platform that I go to It's where I do so much of my reading. And if you keep your eyes out for another video that I'm going to do, which is going to be all of the books that I read in 2019, that should come out, I think, next week. A lot of what you're going to see on there is from Webtoon. I spend a lot of time reading on Webtoon. Why? Because I can read for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes on my breaks at work, and I can consume an entire chapter or 2 or 3 in that little bit of time. And there's a lot of cliffhangers with a lot of the ongoing comics, but at the end of that chapter, I'm like, okay, I'm in a place I can put my phone down, I can go back to work, I can go back to being about my day. I don't have that same standing with paper books, with like normal novels, novellas, whatever. I feel like I have to finish this chapter, I have to finish this scene, I have to finish this dialogue. There's a point where I'm just like, I have to finish. With webtoons and mangas and like comics, I don't have that same like sense of pressure, because I know with that visual aspect that when I come back to it, I know what I'm coming back to. Anyway, that is a long ramble to tell you that this book is from Webtoon. I won't necessarily call it a book, it's a comic, whatever, but it is Noblesse by, I'm gonna butcher this, Jaeho Son and Kwangsu Lee. You can rip me apart in the comments for butchering that one, possibly. Anyway, that one, I tried to get into it. I was like, oh, this is gonna be like a vampire horror story or something. And then our main character is like supposed to give off these vibes of like being this big bad or whatever. But he's so out of touch with like modern reality that he just feels awkward and in no way intimidating. He doesn't give off dangerous vibes. He just makes me feel like I should protect him. And I was not, I don't know, like I wasn't okay with that because of all of the implications set by other characters, that he was supposed to be like this super dangerous guy and then nothing. Maybe if I had gotten further into it, I would have gotten more of that danger, more of that suspense, more of what I was looking for. But because I didn't get it when I wanted it, I don't like it. Okay, and the last book that I want to mention is an actual book, not a comic, and it hurts my heart to put it on this list. It is Silence Fallen by Patricia Briggs. To those of you who don't know, I am an auto-buy Patricia Briggs fan. If she publishes something, not only have I probably pre-ordered it, but I've probably got it on my phone and as a paperback on my bookshelf, and I've probably read it 3, 4, 5 times within 10 minutes of it coming into my possession. Like, I just love Patricia Briggs' writing so, so much. My problem with this particular story is that I can tell you every single event that happens in the course of this story from the first page to the last page, and I still have no idea what is going on. I have read it 3 times through now. 2019 was just like, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give it one last go. I'm reading the entire series from first to present so that I can prepare for the next book that was coming out. And I got to Silence Fallen and I was just like, why though? I kind of finally got the why though on the 3rd read, but the fact that it took me 3 reads to understand and comprehend the book, that doesn't sit well with me. I don't like that it took me so long to figure things out. Not my favorite of her books, and definitely not my favorite of 2019. So, on that note, those are the 4 worst reads of 2019. Again, if you enjoyed or loved any of these stories, do not feel like it is a personal attack at you. It's not intended to be. These are just my opinions. If you have a contradictory opinion, hit me up in the comments. We can talk about it. We can have a civilized debate back and forth about the pros and cons of series, of books, of whatever. I am more than happy to have that conversation. So if any of these books are your favorite, hit me up. If you also didn't like them, still hit me up in the comments. I want to hear what your opinions were. I update on Mondays and Fridays for this channel, and I also have an additional channel where I update on Tuesdays and Saturdays. So stay tuned, and I will see you in the next one. Have fun, be safe, bye!